more closely. The major pharmaceutical that deals with the GABA receptor are the benzodiazepine family. These include Xanax, Ativan, Valium, Klonopin. I put them in that order from shortest to longest half-life. These are powerful anxiolytics or anti-anxiety drugs. They work as indirect agonists of GABA. So here's the GABA A receptor. And what we see is here is the principal binding site. Remember, that's where the neurotransmitter goes. But look, in this case, we're showing 4 alternate binding sites, one of which is the benzo site. Another, alcohol. So the main pharmaceuticals are the benzos, but the main drug is, of course, alcohol. And, this receptor is very dangerous to mess with. Drugs that target this receptor are really the only ones where withdrawal can kill you. So how would withdrawal from alcohol or Xanax kill you? Well, we bounce back to the balance idea. When you abuse drugs that stimulate the heck out of GABA, your natural brain's response is to diminish its sensitivity to GABA, just as a way of keeping up, just as a way of trying to avoid being overwhelmed. So under the influence of the drug, let me draw it this way. So this is your excitation, and this is your inhibition. This is pre-addiction. As addiction develops, what happens is your natural inhibition goes down. Why? Because you're substituting it with your drug. Now, if you get clean, what has happened? You have dramatically thrown off the balance of your excitatory and inhibitory systems. Too much glutamate can lead to seizures, excitotoxicity, and brain death. Even heroin won't do this to you. You might want to die, but unless you have underlying health problems, you almost certainly won't. But here's a different story. Before the opioid epidemic, we were talking about the benzo epidemic. And as a way of sort of bringing it all together again, it seems like a surefire way to die is to mix opiates with benzos. This is definitely a pretty surefire way to die. No joke, you guys. All right, last but not least, let's talk about my very, very favorite drug, caffeine. Well, first, the neurotransmitter, adenosine. Now, adenosine builds up as a response to normal cellular activity. As you use your neurons throughout the day, adenosine builds up. As adenosine goes up, your neural activity goes down. Wait, yes. What's the consequence of neural activity going down? Tired, foggy headed. Thankfully, we have Mother Caffeine. Mother Caffeine will temporarily block adenosine receptors, thereby allowing your neurons to return to their former glory and have high levels of activity again. But it doesn't last forever. As the caffeine wears off and disengages from the receptor, now not only was this adenosine still around, now you've made a bunch more adenosine. So the crash can be hard, but it's okay. Here's what you got to do: 6 a.m., coffee. 7 a.m., coffee. 8 a.m., coffee. 9 a.m., rest. No, sorry. But if you if you're like me, you basically sip coffee throughout the day. For me, that prevents any sort of big crash, and it prevents getting the jitters. So I always wanted to, when I was in college, I wondered how much caffeine is in what I'm drinking, what I'm consuming. So here, 85 milligrams per 5 ounces of regular coffee. Tea has some, with black tea having the most, followed by green, and followed by, what's the word, herbal, which are supposed to have zero, but who knows what's in there. Chocolate has a significant amount, particularly dark baking chocolate. Cola, like Pepsi, Coke, has 30, about half, sorry, about a quarter of the concentration of coffee. But things like Mountain Dew are like 2 times. Or 2x cola. And some of the energy drinks can be just as potent as coffee. Now, one thing I really don't recommend are caffeine pills. Uh, these just, it doesn't, the bioavailability of it is very different than what it's like when you sip on coffee. So you go like this and then you go like that, and it's a very strange experience. Okay, but we talked about pro cognitive drugs. There's none more popular and effective than caffeine. And as many of you know, coffee itself is very healthy, reduces chances of type 2 diabetes, of liver cancer, Parkinson's, and who knows. And that concludes the psychopharmacology.